Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Madeline Hagan. Well, his remains were found last February in rural Benton County, and now the couple accused of killing 8-year-old Edgar Casillan Jr. has been captured in Mexico. An eventful elections night. Let's go ahead and get right to the races affecting you. Let's take a look at the race for U.S. Senate here in Washington. And we have an update on that breaking news we brought you earlier out of Richland tonight. Several law enforcement agencies at the scene of a standoff. We begin with breaking news this evening. An attempted robbery leads to a shootout at the Wild Horse Casino. Tonight we're learning a lot more about what happened this afternoon. This map shows the area we're talking about. The Wild Horse Casino in Pendleton sits approximately an hour's drive southeast of Kennewick. That's roughly 75 miles from the Tri-Cities. Now let's go ahead and go live to Cap KVU's Ellie Nakamoto-White live in Pendleton this evening. Ellie, tell us a little bit about what you're seeing. It's a topic that experts have studied for decades, but it wasn't until last year that Morrow County declared an emergency over the issue. So what took so long? The Oregon Department of Environmental Quality says the issue received renewed attention last year after they fined the Port of Morrow. And they all have the potential to rise, maybe flood, if that snowpack melts very quickly. It's something the Walla Walla County Office of Emergency Management has an eye on. The longtime Tri-Cities resident we spoke to said he's concerned about conditions on this trail. Things like these downed limbs, you can see even a bigger one off in the background, that make it very hard to navigate the trail. He said he'd like to see the area cleaned up so future generations can enjoy just like he did when he was a little kid. When Maria Colleen moved into this Boardman, Oregon home in 1987, she was given one warning.
Solamente me dijeron no pueden tomar el
All they
agua.
told me was, you can't drink the water, but they didn't explain why. That's all they told us.
Up until now, Maria and her family used the water for things like cooking or brushing their teeth. It wasn't until early 2022 when they learned about testing well water for nitrates.
Pero hoy sí estoy preocupada.
I was worried about my health, but more importantly, I was worried about the health of my grandkids because they live here with us and they're younger, so don't really know what that means for their health long term.
The EPA says water with nitrate levels over 10 milligrams per liter is unsafe. Maria's water has consistently tested 5 times over the limit.
And so we didn't know what that would mean for us.
Zaira Sanchez with Oregon Rural Action says she's heard many stories like Maria's.
I hope I live to see the day that this gets resolved.
That's the common sentiment she gets from people throughout the affected counties.
Fears that they have for their health, for their grandkids, the generations that come after them. What does that mean for the future of this community?
Zaira and Maria say the county and health district have done a lot in the last year to ensure residents have clean drinking water.
Declared a emergency, right? And we were able to start getting access to emergency drinking water, which is the delivery of water to people's homes if they were testing high. We saw rapid testing being done.
But now they're calling upon Governor Tina Kotek to do more.
We need the governor to declare that this is a public health emergency. We need access to rapid testing. We also need to secure alternative drinking sources. So right now we have water distribution available to folks, but that's only through June.
Governor Kotek's office told us they're working with state agencies to deliver solutions like free testing, water delivery, and at-home filtration systems. Maria was a part of a group that went to the Capitol in Salem in mid-April to raise awareness. They even conducted a nitrate test on site to show the level of contamination. For now, Maria's family relies on their rented water dispenser and a reverse osmosis system provided by the county.
I've had to make a lot of changes. I have to go out of my way to go get water from the health department. The jugs that we get are pretty big, and me at my age, it's really difficult for me to be lugging those around. We also worry about constantly what that means for our health, so it does complicate things a lot more.
For Cap KVU Local News, I'm Madeline Hagan. In Royal City, Washington, farmland and expansive views go as far as the human eyes can see. And if you're at a dairy farm, cattle are all you can see. This is where we meet Austin Allred, owner of Royal Dairy.
The basics of what God gave us and how we can use it better.
Austin is talking about boosting sustainability through crops, soil health, cattle, and earthworms.
Over 50 million worms will clean about 400,000 gallons of water every single day for us.
But to understand why this farmer has millions of worms on his dairy, we have to go back in time.
My dad's a potato farmer, He's an apple farmer, cherry farmer, and then about 10, 12 years ago we got into the livestock. We implemented some ruminants into that system so that we could be more sustainable, really be more closed loop, and really support our soils with less imports, less synthetic fertilizers.
Soil health is one of Allred's main focuses.
If there's an excess of carbon in the air, we want that in the soil. We want that carbon in the soil because that's where it's really, really valuable.
The farm has thousands of dairy cows with new calves born every day. And with that amount of cattle comes a lot of waste. Enter the earthworm.
They learned how to clean water with worms.
Austin says about 5 years ago they implemented Biofiltro. It's a system where 8 acres worth of earthworms filter green water that's squeezed out from cow waste.
Essentially trying to turn these big old lagoons that are full of green water into more like irrigation ponds that can irrigate our crops.
Crops grown by Austin's family for consumption and food for cattle.
Cattle's magic stomach, called the ruminant, turns that into protein, and we're able to then digest that protein. And then they give us that poop, and that poop is now manure. We compost it, we give it to the worms, we turn it into worm poop, and we put that back in our soil to then grow more crops.
He calls it a closed-loop system that's boosted the farm's sustainability.
To be exact, it's cut our footprint by 42,000 CO2 ton equivalents. These worms are going to eliminate the formation of 42,000 tons of methane from going into the air.
Austin says when used properly, cattle are essential to our environment.
The cow has to be a part of that system in order to make it work, in order to support our soils, in order to build value in some of those grass and those crops that are so good for our soils.
As for the worms, they sustain themselves. They double their population every 3 months. And the cattle, well, they keep eating. It's tiring work on this dairy, but Austin says he can't imagine life any other way.
There's lots of stress, there's lots of hard days, and it's like, you know what, let's be real. This is the best.
For CapKV Local News, I'm Madeline Hagan. The years have started to blend together for adults in custody like Fred Pike. In prison for 23 years, he wonders what life will be like if and when he's released, the impact he could have outside. A positive impact, he hopes, thanks to these furry companions.
I'm happy. Who would thought you'd be happy in prison?
Happy hardly describes the 180-degree difference in Pike's life. He said the dogs have changed his life for the better.
I was adopted at a young age. I grew up in gang warfare. So the chance you took on me was, if you can define yourself in one word, what would it be? And I said change.
The person he's referring to is Joy St. Peter. She founded the program, The Joys of Living Assistance Dogs. It was implemented into the prison in 2016. It enables eligible candidates to train these canines into working service dogs while serving time. The pups are trained anywhere from 18 months to 2 years, spending 2 weeks inside the prison with their trainers and another 2 with socializers in the community.
To me, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
During a graduation ceremony on Monday, the men showed off what their loyal and trained dogs are capable of and how they'll assist their new owners.
So they open doors, turn on lights, they wake them up from nightmares, lead them out of a building if they start shutting down and can't see or function in a crowd.
It's a love that some of these men have never known and discipline that takes their every ounce of effort.
I was high out of my mind, and I chose to hang out with people I shouldn't have, and I shot and ended up taking a life. And I got 25 years when I was 18.
Patrick Morris has spent nearly half of his life inside prison. JLAT has brought him the foreign joy of giving back.
Saved a life instead of ruined a life. It's very rewarding, like, wow, I really helped you? Are you serious? Yeah, you helped me.
It's the general consensus among these men and others I spoke with. The dogs have taught them invaluable life lessons.
It's taught me to think about others. It's taught me empathy, sympathy, patience.
I learned how to be accountable for all my actions, how to show remorse for everything I do, and that only I can define my path to who I am.
And the benefits, Captain Jeff Frazier said, are immense.
25 years of doing this, it's one of the most beneficial programs that I've seen as far as change. If it lessens the tensions among the population, it actually lessens the tension for the staff.
Some of these men aren't certain what the future holds. They don't know if appeals will be granted or parole denied.
but they do know love, the kind that lifts you up and compels you to be a better person.
Try to learn self-love. Figure out what that is. Because once you love yourself, you start figuring out everything.
Somebody does want you. Whether you feel love from somebody, somebody's gonna love you. All the years being locked down in a colorless place, we get to see color. We get to see life again. We get to breathe again.